Hey up, I thought I'd just do a bit of a follow-up based on some questions and a few answers I was getting on the feedback in the comment section on my site. Some people were mentioning one or two things, and I answered best I could, but some things I'm not sure about. Anyway, I thought I'd just make a quick video on a few things that were mentioned and get your opinions on them. Right, I've got them written down here. Obviously I can't remember them all, so I'll just go through some of them. This guy here, he mentioned he'd watched the video, and 10 minutes into the video he's showing 11.6 volts. He mentioned you can tweak it on the transformer, and he's done his up to 12.5. Now, I've seen this mentioned before in other videos, and I've wondered whether to tweak mine, but I'll be honest with you, because it's been running okay, that's why I've left it. I mean, if it's running okay, is there an advantage to tweaking the voltage from mine, which is about 11.5 up to sort of 12.5? Does the glow plug get hotter because you're increasing the voltage? And does it make a difference whether you're running kerosene or diesel? I mean, I don't know. Perhaps, some of you know. Perhaps you need a hotter glow plug to ignite the diesel rather than kerosene. I'm running on kerosene, so is that the reason? But anyway, mine's running perfectly okay at 11.6. So I haven't had no issues with it. Whether we'll do in the future, I don't know. But at the moment, it's certainly running okay. One or two mentioned that the fans on the transformers can be noisy when running all the time. The transformer I've got, the fan kicks in and out when required, so basically it doesn't run all the time. So I haven't actually had that problem. Whether most of them do run all the time, I don't know, but mine certainly doesn't. Now, when I bought mine was badged as an 8 kilowatt heater. Although, from what I understand, there's no such thing as an 8 kilowatt heater. They're all 2 or 5 kilowatt heaters. Again, I'm not certain about this, but that's what the general opinion is. Now, somebody's mentioned to me that the difference between an 8 and a 5 kilowatt heater is purely down to the pump, how much fuel it delivers. I mean, I haven't read this before, I haven't heard it before, so whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But again, if anybody knows this for certain. Somebody mentioned here a couple of observations. The exhaust and burner air inlet should both go outside. Also, the 240 volt connection on your power supply should be covered and not accessible. And also, you need an earth to the power supply. The power supply itself, as I mentioned in the video, I've got a cover for it, and this is the cover as goes over it. So I'd already got a cover for it anyway. As far as the earth going to the power supply, I didn't have an earth on. I wired it up the way basically I'd seen on social media, but since then I have put another cable in with an earth in, so that's been sorted. Now, as far as the air inlet, I wasn't sure about what to do with that. Some people say it's required to go outside, well away from the exhaust outlet, if you like, whereas one or two others have mentioned about keeping it indoors because you're recirculating the hot air that you've created rather than dragging cold air in. Again, I'm not certain, but what's people's opinions on that, inside or outside? Somebody has mentioned about a battery backup just in case of a power cut, because if you lose complete power to the unit, basically you can fry the motherboard in them. And again, I do know about that. I know it won't go through its proper cool down procedure if you suddenly lose supply to it, and that's the disadvantage, is just running off a transformer. The only thing I can say is, if I've had a couple of power cuts in the last 20 years, it's stretching it, I think. And if I come in here, I might have it on for an hour or so, or at best. It can happen, I suppose, but the chances of it happening is slim. people have said, you know, theirs has lost power many times and it's never ever fried the board. Is that dependent on how hot you're running at the time? You know, if you're running on a low setting, obviously everything is hot inside, so is that why, you know, you might not fry the board? If you're running on a high setting, it's red hot, and you know, does that fry the board if you lose power? I don't know. But anyway, you know, if I suppose you take a chance on it, and if you're not running with a battery backup and it fries it, it fries it. But you can buy the boards, and you can buy, you know, the control panels that go with them. So if ever it happened to me, that's probably the way I'd go with it. I'd probably end up just buying a new motherboard or something. People have been asking about kerosene. Now, it seems as though there's massive differences in kerosene. I buy mine from somewhere local, and I've just bought some at 85 pence a litre, which is cheaper than last year or earlier in this year when I was buying it. So 85 pence, you know, I'm well happy with. But the place I found, which was local, there's a website called, sorry, not a website, there's a site on Facebook called Chinese Diesel Eaters UK, and on there's a guy that posts now and again with like a map that tells you where you can buy kerosene and red diesel. Now, when the map gets posted, it seems to go out of date very quick, and sometimes you click on it and the link doesn't work. So it's a matter of catching it when you can. But if you go onto that site and ask the question, somebody might be able to post it on there, like an up-to-date one, and give you information on kerosene, where you can get kerosene near to you if you like. Right, there's a guy here, he mentions he's got a diesel to work in his garage or his shed, and he mentions that you're not supposed to run them on kerosene. And the reason you're not supposed to run them on kerosene is because there's no lubrication in kerosene. You know, for every argument that it isn't an issue, you know, somebody seems to argue as it is an issue. I did read somewhere there's two types of kerosene. Whether there is or not, I'll be honest with you, I don't know. Now, all I can say is, at the moment, you know, I've had no issues with mine. Like I say, I'm coming into my third winter with mine, so I've run it for a couple of winters, and everything's working all right. So, and also, what they say is it damages the pump. The pump isn't getting any lubrication. Now, if the pump suddenly failed because it wasn't getting lubrication, I mean, they're about 10 quid, if that. So, all I'd do, I'd just replace the pump. You know, in that time, I've saved a damn sight more than because the kerosene at 85p a litre, or around a quid a litre, say, compared to about £1.60 a litre for diesel. You know, I've saved a damn sight more than 10 quid over that period of time. So I'd just change the pump. So for me, if the pump fails because I'm running kerosene, I'll be honest with you, it's no big deal, and that's the way I tend to look at it. Somebody's mentioned about wrapping. I normally have a wrap on here to help protect against little fingers touching it, if you like. Now, somebody mentioned about leaving it open, exposed, but say put a mesh cage around it, which is a good idea, because what he's saying is the heat off the exhaust helps to warm the room as well. So yeah, it's a good idea. The only reason I wrap it is I've got grandkids, and although the grandkids are never in here, you just never know, do you? You know, it's just, you know, it gets red hot, and I'd hate to anybody touch it, and that's why I've had it wrapped in the past. But that cage idea, I suppose, you know, I suppose it's a good idea. Anyway, that's the last of the sort of questions and answers as have been going back and forth. A couple of things as I do, and I don't know again whether these are right or wrong, but when I've been running it, I normally start it up on high and let it warm the place up a bit, and then I turn it down. Now, what I tend to do before I turn it back off, I crank it back up to its highest level for about 5 minutes. And what the idea of that is that it'll burn off any sort of residue inside, anything that's kind of left over. Again, whether I'm right or wrong on that, it's just something I read a long time ago, and it's what I've been doing. And to me, it kind of makes a bit of sense, because I read lots of stories about people running them on low all the time, then suddenly they're having starting issues and getting all this white smoke and things like that, you know, because there's a lot of crap inside the chamber. So anyway, I turn mine up, I crank it right up for 5 minutes and let it run on full pelt for that period, and then I hope is it's burning the crap off inside. One thing I always do as well, I always turn it off at the power supply when I leave my garage. I rarely ever leave it unattended, I'll be honest with you, because if I've got it on, I'm normally in here. But anyway, I turn it off at the power supply. It's just an habit I've got into. You know, I've read stories where people have come to their unit and the fan's wearing away on it. You know, it's sparked the fan up on its own for some reason. I mean, how that can happen, I don't know, but they say it happens. But anyway, I just got in the habit of turning it off at the power supply. And the only other thing is, with mine, since day one, I've always run it on kerosene. I've never run it on diesel, so I don't know the difference between the two. And like I say, you know, mine, it runs clean as a whistle. You know, if you look where the exhaust is, the outlet, there's no smoke or anything like that. I've never had any smoke. There's no black mark, you know, down the wall or anything like that where the exhaust is blowing out. So for me, kerosene's a lot cleaner than diesel, but also for me it's a damn sight cheaper, and that's why I run on it. Anyway, I just thought I'd pass them things on to you. I'll wrap it up, and if you can like and subscribe, that'd be great. I've had a lot of hits on this about this diesel heater, which has been really good for me. My subscriptions have gone up above the 100 mark now, which again is bob on. So thanks for your support, and if you answer any of these questions, you know, you've got any input on them, let me know, and thanks again.